Yo, here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. Chase Senior here with you. And as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. It is a beautiful Wednesday, October 29th, and Howie Roseman strikes again. That's obviously the breaking news that we're about to get to here, as the Philadelphia Eagles have traded for a really talented cornerback. This is a sneaky good move for the Birds here. On top of that breaking news that we're going to dissect here on the program, more Eagles trade buzz from ESPN, couple of great Howie Roseman moves that I want to talk about here, and then we'll open up the floor for a Q&A mailbag. So use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat. And just another reminder, it's very easy to get involved with our mailbag. I want to hear from you. I want to chop it up with all of you. So use the hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat. That is hashtag Eagles or send in a super chat. About 500 people already watching live. As you come in here, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. The more likes that we get, the more people who find the stream, the more people who come in here to hang out, and the more fun that we will have. So the news of the day for Philadelphia, the Eagles have traded for cornerback Michael Carter II. We're going to get into that right now. If y'all ready to go, I'm ready to go. Producer Chip is ready to rock and roll as well. And so with that, let's start the official show right now. You knew Howie Roseman was going to make a move at some point, and Howie Roseman has done it again. Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Senior. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Let's get into it here on the program. The breaking news here on this Wednesday afternoon, on this October 29th, about a week to go until the NFL trade deadline, the Birds have traded for cornerback Michael Carter of the New York Jets. Before we fully dive into it and dissect it all, this is why you subscribe to the channel. When breaking news happens, we break it down here on the show. As you can see, we're closing in on 135,000 subscribers. So join the movement, get informed, and hit that sub button right now. Adam Schefter breaking the news not long ago that the Jets are sending cornerback Michael Carter and a 2027 7th-round pick to the Eagles in exchange for wide receiver John Metchie and a 2027 6th-round pick. And so to simplify that tweet, we'll put it into a trade format for you. And here are the official trade details. The Eagles getting a really talented slot corner who they have familiarity with. More on that in a moment. And then these two teams swapping late-round picks for the 2027 draft, not the 2026 draft. And then the Jets getting a wide receiver in John Metchie, who the Eagles haven't really utilized, and they like Darius Cooper a lot. And this is pretty telling here. When you are the defending Super Bowl champions and you're off to, once again, a really good start, 6-2 for the Birds coming off back-to-back highly impressive wins, and you have one of the best defensive coordinators in football, players want to play for you. When you have Jeffrey Lurie as your owner, Howie Roseman as your general manager, Nick Sirianni as your head coach, and you have the culture that you have in place, other teams look at you as a model organization. And that's the case here with Michael Carter II. Ian Rappaport with this information here. Here's how badly Michael Carter wanted to join the champions. Sources say he agreed to delete the $5 million guaranteed for injury in his 2026 contract year to complete the trade to the Philadelphia Eagles. This is also a Howie Roseman type of move here, where he looks at the intricacies and the nuances of that contract to make sure it's a favorable one for the Eagles. And since signing a big contract going into last year, Michael Carter has dealt with some injuries. This year, a concussion issue. And so this was probably an important clause for the Eagles in order to sign off on this trade and make it official. And my reaction with this move, this is a move where the Eagles are bringing in a slot nickel corner. Carter has been used solely as a slot corner throughout his entire career. Now, Cooper DeJean has started to play more on the outside, especially in the Eagles' base defense. Does this signal that DeJean is moving to the outside full time? So then the Eagles' cornerback trio will be John Metchie on one side, Cooper DeJean on the other outside corner spot, and then Michael Carter on the inside. If not, it gives you a really good depth option from that inside behind Cooper DeJean, which right now you don't really have. More on Carter because we always like to give you an informative show here on the program. He played his college football at Duke. He was a 5th-round pick back in 2021. Ended up being a real steal for this Jets organization. 5'10", 184 pounds. Howie Roseman really likes corners who run well. Carter runs well. 4.36 40-yard dash in the pre-draft process, and he's also a very experienced player. He's played in 65 games, including 25 starts. And from that slot spot, he's been able to read and react. He's been able to diagnose plays. He's been able to read his receivers who he's covering mid-route, but also read the eyes of the quarterback. He has good instincts, and the Eagles really value that at the corner spot as well. Quinyon Mitchell had more than 40 pass breakups his last 2 years at Toledo. Eagles took him in the first round. Cooper DeJean was a ball hawk who had 7 career interceptions, 3 went back for touchdowns while at Iowa. And for Michael Carter, there's a sample size here. There's proof that he makes plays on the rock. 2021, 5 pass breakups. 2022, 9. 2023, 9. 2024, only 1. And so far this year, he has 2 PBUs. But a change of scenery and going to a better organization can always light the fire, get a player motivated, and have that player playing really well. We see this with trade deadline acquisitions across the major sports. And in speaking of Carter's experience playing in the slot, here is his snap alignment every year of his career. So year 1, 11 snaps along the defensive line, 18 in the box, 2 at free safety, 113 in the slot, 1 at outside corner. Year 2, 5 along the defensive line, 20 snaps in the box, 1 at free safety, 252 in the slot, 7 at outside corner. Year 3, 2 snaps along the defensive line, 65 in the box, 4 at free safety, 571 in the slot, 29 at outside corner. 2024, 7 along the defensive line, 56 in the box, 2 at free safety, 662 snaps in the slot, 5 at outside corner. And then so far this year, he's been used more along the defensive line, 17 there, 140 snaps in the box, 1 at free safety, 614 snaps in the slot, 4 slot corner. And so he has had a very heavy workload playing on the inside, not the outside. And what that rounds out to be is this. Chat stats. 85% of Michael Carter's career snaps have been in the slot. So I don't think the Eagles are bringing in a player here who they're going to stick on the outside and say, make it work. Cooper DeJean at Iowa played safety. He played outside corner. He played in the slot. He played everywhere. And so far this year, he started to play a little bit more on the outside. We'll get to that here in a moment. And so that's my thought, is that the Eagles are bringing in Carter to compete for that slot role, and they're thinking about moving DeJean to the outside or at least having more snaps on the outside. How he fared against Justin Jefferson a couple of weeks ago may have given the Eagles a lot of confidence. And this is a good slot corner who the Eagles are bringing in here. And he was a 5th-round pick, as I mentioned. Then the Jets gave him a 3-year, $30.75 million contract last year. So the Eagles are also trading for a player who's under contract through 2027 and is young. Now, he's had some injuries over the last couple of years, concussion problems this year, but the Eagles also have familiarity with the player. The Jets' former general manager, Joe Douglas, used to be the assistant GM under Howie Roseman, played a big role in the scouting department for the Eagles. Well, once he was fired by the Jets, the Eagles brought Joe Douglas back. And so Joe Douglas, I imagine, was in the ear of Howie Roseman saying, this is a really good player. Liked him in the pre-draft. We drafted him. We developed him. We signed him to a new deal because we think he's legit. Going back to DeJean playing on the outside, here's what Vic Fangio had to say. We considered it, but when you have one of the better players at a certain position, and it's an important position where you get involved more, you hate to take a really good player at one position to maybe not be as good of a player or impactful of a player at another position. But it's definitely something that we've talked about. That last line, very interesting. Vic Fangio openly saying yesterday on Tuesday, playing DeJean on the outside is something that we've talked about. And he also added it's easier to find a slot corner than it is an outside guy. And so when Howie Roseman makes a move, he's always thinking about value. He's always thinking about fit culturally in the locker room. He's thinking about how that player is going to fit with the scheme. The Eagles have familiarity with Michael Carter. They know that he can play at a very high level along the inside. He's also a very good run defender, which is important for slot corners in this defense. That's what Cooper DeJean has done so well. And they also understand that we have a guy in Cooper DeJean who's elite on the inside, can be very good on the outside, maybe end up being elite to the outside. So I think this is a move that just makes the Eagles defense better in the secondary in a more complete fashion. And if anything, it gives you more depth at the nickel spot when you didn't really have it. The Eagles tried to use Mac McWilliams there, but he also got reps on the outside. Perry Nickerson was let go, brought back to the practice squad. He can play inside, outside. Adoree Jackson and Keely Ringo are not slot corners. So now you bring in a player in Michael Carter who adds depth, high-level play, and starting experience. And in training camp, the Eagles were also using Cooper DeJean at outside corner as well. Now, the downside of moving Coop to the outside is that he's able to impact the game in so many ways from the nickel spot. He can cover tight ends. He can cover slot wide receivers. He can cover running backs. You can use him as a hybrid linebacker. When you want to use him at that big nickel spot, he can do that. He's an excellent tackler from the slot. And he's so good at going up against the run. When you want to use him on that corner blitz, he's so dangerous there in being able to get after the quarterback. You move him to the outside, and sometimes he's going to be on that island, and he's not able to impact the game in a plethora of ways like he can when he's naturally from that slot spot. Now, you look at DeJean's alignment as far as his snap counts. Last year, his rookie year, so far this year, I think this is pretty notable here. He's been used at outside corner a lot more this season as compared to last year. And so I think that's something that the Eagles are looking at expanding his role with, is him playing more as a perimeter corner. Now, we have a lot more to get to here on the show, but get those red pens out. I want you to grade the trade for Michael Carter here. A, B, C, D, or F. Share your thoughts with me down in the comment section right now. I always want you to have a voice on this show. And those of you who have watched this show for a long time, you know I love talking football. You know I love the Birds. I've been rooting on this team since I was 4. I've wanted to be a sports broadcaster and cover the Eagles since I was 5 years old. But you also know I have interests outside of being in front of the camera on the microphone. That includes fitness. It includes health and wellness. It includes supplementation. And so we want to bring on and welcome a new sponsor here at Chat Sports, Bubs Naturals. And I love their collagen. Live better longer. And we have a fantastic deal that we want to tell you about if you use our code CHAT. Look, getting older, it can hit you harder than expected. Stiff joints in the morning, recovery from the gym. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Your hair thins out, your nails break. Even your skin loses that glow. Well, you start taking Bubs collagen peptides, it's going to solve all of your issues. Aging sucks, but it doesn't have to. Starting in your mid-20s, your collagen production starts to naturally decline in your body. That's where Bubs Naturals collagen peptides comes in. It helps restore collagen levels to what your body naturally had in its youth, so your joints feel stronger, your hair and nails grow healthier, and your skin looks smoother. Look at my beautiful skin here. You can't deny it. Collagen is the most abundant protein and is often referred to as the glue that holds our bodies together. I've noticed less joint pain. My hair and skin is healthier. I bounce back and recover after workouts a lot faster as I'm training for a high rocks competition. And what I like about Bubs, no junk, zero sugar, sweeteners or fillers, third-party tested, mixes seamlessly. I put it in coffee. It's also sustainably sourced from grass-fed, pasture-raised cattle. So here you go. Live better longer. For a limited time, our listeners are getting 20% off at Bubs Naturals by using our code CHAT at checkout. Just head to BUBSnaturals.com, use the code CHAT, and you're all set. After you make your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that Eagles Now and Chase Sr. sent you. You look at Michael Carter's numbers this year. So 145 defensive snaps, a PFF defensive grade of 43, a coverage grade of 37.6, 2 pass breakups. Now you're going to look at those numbers and say, woof, Chase, those are rough. Well, this is a new defensive scheme that the Jets are trying to learn. Aaron Glenn has brought in a completely new defense from Robert Saleh last year and Jeff Ulbrich, who took over as the interim head coach. And so I think Michael Carter has struggled a little bit with that. He's also struggled to stay healthy with some injury problems. And so I wouldn't look at those PFF numbers and say the Eagles are bringing in a bad player. I know from what I've seen, what he's done, and the resume that the Eagles are bringing in a very solid player here for a very good value. They're giving away John Metchie, and they're swapping late-round picks to bring in a starting caliber player. Think about that. You're swapping late-round picks in 2027, and you're trading away John Metchie, who's had 4 catches for 18 yards this year, for a potential starter who is under contract through 2027. And so you think, Chase, why do the Eagles make this trade? We've been talking about how cornerback help is a need that the Eagles need to check off, right? And so you're able to check off that box. You get depth there. You get a starting caliber player with a player under contract for the future. John Metchie really wasn't giving the Eagles much anyway, right? I mean, you think about this Eagles wide receiving rotation. Darius Cooper is ahead of him on the depth chart. That's why he was getting more snaps in that game against the Giants when A.J. Brown was out. And when A.J. Brown was out against the Giants, we did obviously a couple of videos about that injury news. People were saying, don't forget about John Metchie. Don't forget about John Metchie. I like the player, and I liked him at Alabama. I think his ACL has impacted his speed a little bit. Unfortunately, he had the leukemia diagnosis as a rookie, and so his career has been set back. I'm still a believer in him, but on this team, Eagles are pretty deep at wideout. Devontae Smith is having a career year. A.J. Brown is a stud. You have Dallas Goedert, who's having a career year. You're trying to get Saquon Barkley involved. There really wasn't a role for John Metchie, and if it requires the Eagles to trade away Metchie for a starting caliber player, you make that move every single day. Now, I would not be surprised if the Eagles make another move. Is Howie Roseman done? I think that he could add a pass rusher to this team as well. That's also what this move gives you, is the flexibility to trade for a pass rusher. You're swapping late-round picks in 2027. You have 3 third-round picks that you can use at your disposal. You have a 4th. You have a couple of 5ths. You have some valuable compensatory picks, right? And obviously the Eagles aren't awarded those yet, but you know you have those in the chamber, locked and loaded, ready to go. And so by trading for Carter, swapping late-round picks, and trading away John Metchie, you used a player asset to bring in Carter. Now you have premium draft assets that you can use at your disposal if you also want to trade for a pass rusher. Don't forget to give me a follow on X and Instagram, by the way, at Chase_Senior. I'm always talking Eagles here on YouTube, but I'm also giving you so much more Eagles content on my social media pages as well. Caleb Scheel with a $2 super chat. What's up, Philly fam? Finally made this one. Go Birds. See, this is why you subscribe to the channel, but also turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime we go live, anytime we push out a show, you'll be notified. And if anybody out there wants to send in a super chat, it goes a long way, obviously, in supporting the show. We'll obviously answer all of your super chats, and we appreciate the support. Yes. We're at. Oh, just us? Oh, cool. Let's do this.
All right, don't forget, if we get enough questions, we would love to do a mailbag as, hold on, I'm definitely not Dylan. Want to do a mailbag here today, so if we get enough questions, we will do that as our last seg. So if you use hashtag Eagles, send it a super chat, ask a question, you can get on the show. So far today, got a couple here from Earth, from Gene, the Thunderhounds, Iron Pen LLC, the Dubs fam. So Jonathan E. Frog is back in the chat.
Jonathan E. Frog, what's up, brother?
What's good? And a $2 super chat coming in, Javier Lopez Bautista.
Javier, we're going to pop that super chat up. Again, get those questions in. Hashtag Eagles, send in a super chat. But also, as super chats come in, we'll always pop those up as well and prioritize those. Javier, thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate that. Now, obviously, we talked about the Michael Carter trade. We have a couple more segments that we're going to get to. So if you love talking Eagles, if you want to hang out for the next 45 minutes to an hour, we're going to keep the show moving. We ain't done. The coverage does not stop. Let's go. Segment number 2 coming up. And what we're going to get into, some ESPN reporting on what the Eagles could do additionally. And we're really going to focus in more on the pass rushing position here for Philadelphia. About 700 people watching live. Again, you can really support the show and help spike our audience if you simply hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I understand it's hard to do if you're watching on a TV, but if you're watching on your phone, you're watching on a tablet, give us a thumbs up, and it's going to help out the show a lot. All right, segment number 2 coming up. Let's continue to talk Eagles because this is what we do. Hey there, my name is Chase Sr. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. Thank you so much for supporting the program. And coming up, the Philadelphia Eagles have already made a deadline trade in making a move for Jets cornerback Michael Carter, a really good player from the slot spot. But on today's show, trade rumors continue to hum around this football team. We're going to get to some of that trade buzz and some Eagles news. But first, it might be the bye week for the Birds, but our coverage and our shows do not stop. This is why you have to join the movement and subscribe today. I truly believe that what we do here on the channel is very special. If you agree with me, if you want Eagles coverage nonstop every single day, year-round, lock us in, hit that sub button, and let's get to 135,000 subscribers. So as the NFL trade deadline approaches, the Eagles are expected to be one of the most active teams across the NFL. And prior to the trade for Michael Carter, Howie Roseman already busy since training camp. He traded for John Metchie. He traded for Jacorian Bennett. He traded for Fred Johnson. He made the move for Michael Carter. Howie Roseman never sleeps in trying to improve his football team. And so the Eagles addressed one need at the corner spot with Carter. But will the Eagles also make a move for a pass rusher? Two popular names mentioned here. And they both play for the Miami Dolphins, who only have 2 wins this year and could sell going into the deadline. That's defensive end Bradley Chubb and defensive end Jalen Phillips. Different players, and we'll talk about both individually. But here's what ESPN had to say about Chubb and Phillips and the possibilities of them getting dealt. Jan Graziano, I believe one of them will get traded, but which one I cannot say. I still think the Dolphins want to put a representative product on the field this season. They started 2-6 last year, recovered to win 6 of their next 8 games. So they know it's possible to get back to respectability, even if it doesn't result in a playoff spot. That said, with Tyreek Hill out for the year, the vibes around the team feeling different than they did a year ago, it's entirely possible they'll deal players and look to the future. They'll have 4 days following Thursday night's game against Baltimore to ponder offers ahead of Tuesday's deadline. And there's no shortage of teams looking for pass rushing help. assuming they lose Thursday and drop to 2-7, and assuming offers for Phillips and Chubb are reflective of teams' level of desperation, it's going to be tempting for Miami to consider dealing players they don't imagine being a part of their future. And both of these players had their futures uncertain with Miami. Now, obviously, Thursday's game will really be telling, and it's definitely not a great matchup, right? Baltimore against Miami in the win column. Ravens don't have many wins, but Lamar Jackson is going to come back. I will say, Ravens coming off a season-saving win over the Chicago Bears, in which Snoop Huntley outplayed Caleb Williams. But the Dolphins are the Dolphins, and they beat the Jets. They beat a bad Falcons team. I don't think that Miami is going to be able to compete in this game against Baltimore. As Baltimore, I think you can make the argument still, even though they're not in first place, is the top team in the AFC North. And so I expect Miami to lose this game on Thursday. And I expect one or both of these players to potentially get moved. And let's begin here with Bradley Chubb. Why Bradley Chubb makes sense. He knows the scheme. He's played under Vic Fangio twice, with Denver and with Miami. He has no guaranteed money left on his deal. So it's not like the Eagles have to inherit a monster contract. And I don't think he's going to cost too much as far as the Eagles trading for him. And as we know, the Eagles brought Brandon Graham out of retirement. They signed Zadarius Smith before bringing back BG. They really value vets, especially along the defensive line. You think about what they did in 2022. They signed Ndamukong Suh. They made the move for Linval Joseph. And Bradley Chubb this year is having a pretty solid season. He already has 4 sacks. He has a long history of being able to get after the quarterback, 7 quarterback hits as well, 5 TFLs, and a pass rush grade, according to Pro Football Focus, of 56.8. You put him on this Eagles defensive line, I think that he'll have opportunities to hunt down the quarterback. And why Jalen Phillips makes sense, these two players are different. You have Chubb, who's older, Phillips, who's younger. Different stages of their careers, different players. Phillips is more of an athletic freak, whereas Chubb is more of that physical, stout, wider body at defensive end. Phillips, longer and leaner, taller too, 6'5", 263, freak athlete, first-round pedigree. Howie Roseman loves players who were taken early in the draft because he believes in his coaching staff and the Eagles player development program to maximize these types of players. Phillips, when healthy, has had great production. First 3 years in the NFL, 8.5 sacks, 7 sacks, 6.5 sacks. His season last year cut short due to a torn Achilles, and that's led to him being a little bit slow to start the 2025 season, but he's starting to find a groove. I thought 2 weeks ago he looked the best that he's looked since the pre-injury when the Dolphins played the Cleveland Browns. 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits this year, 2 TFLs. Look at that pass rush grade, an 80.4. Another Miami Dolphin who could make sense if the Dolphins decide to have a fire sale is safety Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah Fitzpatrick is still one of the top safeties in the NFL. He's also under contract through the 2026 season. So the Eagles traded for Michael Carter knowing he's under contract through 2027. If they trade for Fitzpatrick, he's under contract this year and next. But here's the problem with Fitzpatrick. He's a little bit pricey. 2026, $18.84 million cap hit and a $15.6 million base salary. 28 years old, you know the resume. A 3-time first-team All-Pro, fantastic player with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was sent to Miami in that Jalen Ramsey trade. Fitzpatrick this year still continues to be one of the top safeties in the National Football League. Overall PFF grade of 73.4. That ranks 10th among 88 safeties. A run defense grade of 74.9. That's 30th. His coverage grade, 70. That is 12th. He has 3 pass breakups from that safety spot. He's always been a big-time playmaker back there. That ranks 3rd, and that comes on 259 coverage snaps. Now, I know a lot of you will say, well, Chase, what about Drew Makuba? You don't like him? I like Drew Makuba, but I expected him to be better earlier because of all the experience he had in college at Clemson and at Texas. It's not to say that he's not going to become a good player. I think at some point he will, and we've seen glimpses of it, but he's had some really bad misses and some really bad coverage breakdowns this year, which have really hurt the Eagles. Overall PFF grade of 52.6. That is 72nd among 88 safeties. Now, against the run, he can read and diagnose. He can sniff plays out. He can shoot the gap. 76.3 grade there. That's 21st. But in coverage, that's where he's had lapses, whether he's in the wrong place at the wrong time, whether it's him missing a play like he did against Tampa Bay and giving up an explosive, whether it's him missing a tackle like he did against the Giants, or just getting lost. I mean, his coverage grade is 43.3. It's 79th in the NFL. One PBU, that's 33rd, and obviously he's gotten a lot of time there because he's won that job over Sidney Brown, as I predicted that he would prior to the year. 303 coverage snaps for the rookie. If the Eagles don't feel confident in Makuba this year, maybe they can make a trade for a safety, but I think they'll ride it out with Makuba. Before we continue to push forward on today's show, we've reached 3 million people here on YouTube the last month. I've reached 12 million people the last month on my Instagram page. So give me a follow there at Chase_Senior, and so much content on my X page as well at Chase_Senior. Now, we're going to get to some more trade buzz for the Eagles coming up. We'll talk Trey Hendrickson. We'll talk Myles Garrett. We have an injury update on Saquon Barkley. But this episode of Philadelphia Eagles Now is brought to you by PrizePicks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right, it never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. This is the #1 fantasy sports app in North America. Pick, predict, play. Easy to play. Get your picks in less than 60 seconds, and you can win some big-time money. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Jalen Hurts' pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup, only on PrizePicks. You can also follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. A 3-pick power play for some Thursday Night Football. Derrick Henry more on 88.5 rushing yards and the half rushing or receiving touchdown. And then Jalen Waddle more on the 62.5 receiving yards. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. So if the Eagles want to make a move for a pass rusher of the star variety, Trey Hendrickson would fit that type of billing. And the Bengals 2 games ago came through with that crazy win over the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday night, as Joe Flacco had a great duel session with Aaron Rodgers. And you're thinking, okay, the Bengals are back in it in the AFC North. What happens in Week 8? When they had a mini bye, they lose against the New York Jets. Not only did they lose, they lost a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter and multiple double-digit leads against the worst team in football in the Jets, who picked up their first win. The Bengals somehow lose 39-38. And so if the Bengals continue to stack up L's, Joe Burrow ain't coming back until December. Trey Hendrickson is on the expiring year of his contract. Does he get moved? That's really the big question, because he's the biggest trade target out there. Here's what ESPN's Jeremy Fowler said about Hendrickson. Up to this point, the Bengals have rebuffed trade inquiries, and sources have maintained that Cincinnati has no plans to trade Hendrickson right now. The Cowboys and 49ers are among the interested teams, though. San Francisco made a move for a pass rusher on Tuesday night. The question becomes, will the Bengals' win-loss record change things? A loss to Chicago on Sunday would drop Cincinnati to 3-6. The AFC North should remain wide open for a while. An 8-9 or an 8-9, 9-8 record might be good enough to win that division this year. So perhaps the Bengals cling to that hope and retain their premier edge rusher, but teams will most likely keep trying to pry Hendrickson away, especially after Sunday's upset loss to the Jets. Complicating matters is a hip injury that has compromised Hendrickson's past 2 weeks on the field, though that injury is not considered serious, and Hendrickson should be full go for the stretch run, be it for Cincinnati or somebody else. The Colts make a ton of sense as a contending team that could be the proverbial one player away. It would also represent a reunion between Hendrickson and former Bengals DC Lou Anarumo, now running the defense in Indy. And I agree that the Colts would make a lot of sense. But I also think that the Eagles would make a lot of sense. Now, obviously with Hendrickson, it comes down to what the Eagles would be willing to give up. They have those 3 third-round picks if you count the compensatory selection for Milton Williams signing with the Patriots. The other one is from the Jets. The other one is their own. And so can you get it done with a second and a third? Obviously, that's a steep price to pay. But if you think that you can win a Super Bowl and Hendrickson is the player to put you over the top, we know that Howie's always willing to be aggressive. Hendrickson this year, once again, really, really good despite that nagging hip injury. He has had more sacks than anybody in 2023 and 2024 combined, 17.5 sacks in each of those years. And so far this year, 4 sacks, 23 pressures, 8 quarterback hits, and a pass rush grade of 90. Of course, you have to also factor in, coming out of the bye, Eagles will get back Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham, some reinforcements coming at edge. Then there's this one, which I think is fascinating. Is Myles Garrett available for a trade? A lot of you saw this clip, and I put it up on my social media pages of that sideline spat that he had. He had 5 sacks against the New England Patriots on Sunday. But once again, it didn't matter because the Browns lost. They lost big. Their offense is a joke. They're one of the worst teams in football. And Myles Garrett continues to play elite ball for a team that doesn't play meaningful football. That game that he had against New England, one of the best that you'll ever see. 5 sacks in a single game. He added 7 pressures on top of that, 2 hurries, and 5 quarterback hits. Now, I bring up Myles Garrett's name because the Eagles were tied to Garrett a lot this offseason. I was at the NFL Combine when these rumors were hot. I was talking with a lot of people. NFL insiders were talking to a lot of people. And the Eagles were looked at as one of the teams that was looking at Myles Garrett seriously as a player to acquire. And obviously, this is before the Browns gave him that record-breaking contract extension at the time. Howie Roseman made an offer for Micah Parsons. He could make another big offer for Myles Garrett because Jeremy Fowler said this about Garrett. The thing is, I dug into the contract this week, and I don't think it's out of the question that the Browns could trade Garrett even this week if he really wanted out, because during Sunday's game, it looked as though he was fed up. The extension added $7 million to his 2025 compensation, $6 million to his 2026 compensation. It also guaranteed him about $30.5 million for 2027. That's a lot of dead money, but it's not even close to the record. The Broncos took on about $80 million when they cut Russell Wilson last year, and they made the playoffs last year and look poised to do so again. The Buccaneers are still carrying Tom Brady dead money, and they win their division every season. We see teams do this more and more as the salary cap continues to rise significantly each year. If somebody came offering the Browns, say 2 first-round picks and Garrett, who has a no-trade clause and could therefore veto a deal, and he really wanted out, it would probably be worth considering. I mean, that would be a fascinating trade for the Eagles, and that would immediately make Philadelphia, in my opinion, Super Bowl favorites. How did they take down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, who right now look like arguably the best team in football, with their pass rush? You add Myles Garrett to the mix with Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham, look out. Now, Adam Schefter, who works for ESPN, just like Jeremy Fowler does, did report from an NFL source that there's no chance Myles Garrett gets moved, but with what Fowler said, let's keep tabs on that. And let's also get to this. We have a Saquon Barkley injury update as the Eagles are going into their bye week. He had the best game of his season going up against his former team in the New York Giants in Week 8 as he ran for $150. But on his last carry, another splash play, we saw him come up lame with a groin injury. That is something that obviously can linger for a little while. Saquon said after the game, "I'm fine. We have a bye week. I'll be able to rest up." But obviously to a player like this who's terrific, who's starting to come on and look better behind this Eagles offensive line, which is playing better, it's always worthy of raising a red flag when a running back goes down with a groin. But Jeremy Fowler reports that things seem to be going in a good direction. Eagles running back Saquon Barkley is trending positively, coming off a minor groin injury. The feeling right now is that he should be in a good spot after the bye week. That's fantastic news, because what Saquon did against the Giants, I think, can unleash another element of this Eagles offense. The last 2 games, the passing game has been there. You get the running game involved as well, and it opens up so many doors. 14 carries, 150 yards, 10.7 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. And to me, this has never been a Saquon Barkley issue this year. It's not the Madden curse. It's not him being washed. It's not him being tired after leading the NFL in touches last year. He's looked great to me. We saw it against the Giants. We've seen it at moments this year. It's been an Eagles offensive line problem. His yards before contact has gone down a full 2 yards from 2024 to this year, going into that Giants game. What did we see against New York? Led by a guy in Brett Toth, who played great at the center spot. He had a lot of real estate before he was contacted. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button here for daily and year-round coverage of the Birds. EAGLES. Let's go. Jonathan E. Frog, $9 super chat. What's up? Can I get the stats of Michael Carter? Oh, yeah. We showed those a little bit earlier. We can show you again. Michael Carter headed to the Eagles. Obviously, we talked about that breaking news a little while ago. We've already been live for 41 minutes, so we hit that right as we went live. 145 defensive snaps this year, 2 pass breakups, a PFF overall grade of 43, a coverage grade 37.6. Doesn't grade out well there, E-Frog, but he's been a really good player throughout his career. That's why the Jets last year gave him a 3-year, $30 million extension, which is a high number for a slot corner. Cheryl, what's up, Cheryl? Welcome back. Hope you and your hubby are doing well. Your first string lineup with all the changes, go Birds. I think it's DeJean on the outside, Quinion on the outside, and Michael Carter on the inside. I think that's going to happen. Javier Lopez, would you call back the Jets for Jermaine Johnson and give a 3rd-round pick and a 4th-round pick for him? I think he can add depth and reinforce the run. That is a move that I would be willing to explore. Yeah, I think Jermaine Johnson's a really good player. Again, you have 3 3rd-round picks, so you give up 1, you still have 2, and you give up a 4th. I think that's a no-brainer for me. How can you improve your team? How can you put yourselves head and heels above the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and any other team contending in the NFC? That's what I want to do, because I do think the Eagles can repeat. This is a different team than 2023. Peter Reamer, $5. I've read and seen videos of people saying that the refs are on the Bird side this year. What's your thought on that? Any fan base that tries to blame officiating for a loss, it's a loser mentality. There is so much that happens in a game that is not decided by officiating. Even in Super Bowl 57, the holding call against James Bradbury, that was a joke of a call. And I do think that if the Eagles get off the field there, force a field goal, they could have driven down the field and won that Super Bowl. But it's not the reason that they lost that game. Jalen Hurts fumbled, scoop and score touchdown. That's 7 points right there. Patrick Mahomes had 1 incompletion in the second half. It was on a throwaway. They couldn't contain him through the air or on the ground. Quez Watkins should have caught that long ball. The Eagles fell a little bit flat after taking that early lead. They were up 10 at halftime. So it's not the end-all be-all. And you think the whistle is on the side of the Eagles? Have you been watching Chiefs games for years? All you haters out there? That's what I would say. All right, segment number 3 is coming up. Again, if you send in a super chat, we're going to pop those super chats up on the show. If somebody sends in a 50, I will drink the rest of my water. Joseph, hey Chase, how you doing, brother? I'm doing better now that you're here.
We got, by the way, shout out to the people, because right now, got a bunch of good questions coming in, some super chats.
Let's go.
Howie made a trade, baby. Let's go.
Let's get it. Always love chopping it up with everybody. Always love chopping it up with everybody. All right. Let's get to segment number 3. I'm going to talk about a couple of sneaky good moves that Howie Roseman has made. 2 steals. Dealing with a little bit of a cold, so bear with me with my stuffy nose and me having to try to clear myself up. All right. What did Kane Angel say? I noticed the Eagles haven't picked any players from Miami since 2012. Wow. Yeah, I think you're right. That's crazy. They've also been kind of a down football program. But yeah, that's nuts. Kane Angel from the UK. John Wallace, thank you, my man. Appreciate you. All right, let's get into segment number 3, and then we'll start to answer your questions for a mailbag. Hey there, welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. As always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. And what I want to talk about here, how Howie Roseman got 2 absolute steals with 2 under-the-radar trades that he's made. And I don't think these trades have been realized to be as impactful by casual Eagles fans or by casual people who cover the NFL, but we're about to dive deep into those moves right now. The first one, the Eagles' decision to bring back offensive tackle Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson has started to get more snaps over the last couple of weeks, and it has led to this Eagles offense putting together their 2 best games of the year. It's not an accident that number 74 is back, playing well. He's been utilized, and this Eagles offense has found a secret weapon. And when this move was made, I remember when it went down, I was in Costa Rica, did a breaking news video on this, and I had said, okay, I understand this move. We saw Matt Pryor at offensive tackle during the preseason. He can't play on the perimeter. He is now, at this point of his career, an interior offensive lineman. He can only play guard. And so the Eagles needed tackle depth. Matt Pryor wasn't it. Cam Williams, not ready. Miles Hinton, not ready. Kendall Lamb, not good enough. And so the Eagles brought back a player in Fred Johnson who they know very well, who has enrolled at Jeff Stoutland University, who last year stepped in and played pretty damn well for Lane Johnson. He played well against the Saints, against the Cincinnati Bengals. He shut down Trey Hendrickson, who last year had 17.5 sacks. And so Fred Johnson has become, to use a basketball term, the 6th man of this Eagles offensive line. He had signed a 1-year contract with the Jaguars after winning Super Bowl 59 with the Eagles. So on August 25th, that's when Howie acquired him in exchange for a 2026 7th-round pick. And he's playing a vital role for this Eagles offense with a $1 million cap hit. And what the Eagles have done in recent weeks, they've gotten creative with their personnel packages. This Eagles offensive turnaround has coincided with the Birds utilizing Fred Johnson in their jumbo package. That is when they have 6 offensive linemen on the field, and sometimes when they still have 6 offensive linemen on the field, Dallas Goedert is also used as another blocker. Weeks 1 through 6 for the Birds, the Eagles used their jumbo look on just 3 total snaps. That's weeks 1 through 6 combined. Week 7 against the Minnesota Vikings. Coming off that mini bye after that bad loss against the Giants, the Eagles went jumbo for 14 snaps. Week 8 against the New York Giants, they went with the jumbo look on 10 snaps. And with Fred Johnson on the field against New York, he was on the field for 12 of 33 running plays for the Eagles as they ran for nearly 250 yards as a team. Saquon Barkley, Tank Bigsby, over 100 yards. It's the first time that 2 backs on the Eagles have done that in 12 years. But with Fred Johnson, Big Freddie, on the field, 12 of the 33 run plays when he was on the field, the Eagles ran for 129 yards, good for 10.87 yards per carry. And the biggest play of them all was the second play of the ball game, the 65-yard Saquon Barkley touchdown. So let's do a little bit of a film study here. And this is a look at the Eagles jumbo package where you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 offensive linemen. And you see Fred Johnson, the number 1, is above his head. So he is flanking to the right of Lane Johnson. And this play was beautifully executed by the Eagles. And what were some of their issues with running the ball early in the year? They weren't executing. And up front, their offensive line was getting pushed around, and they were missing blocks. But when you miss blocks, sometimes even by a hair, it can really blow up the entire play. That didn't happen here, because what you see is the Eagles block everything up beautifully here. You have Jordan Mailata at left tackle, able to seal his man, that's Kayvon Thibodeau, and open up a huge running lane for Saquon Barkley. What I also love is how Landon Dickerson and Lane Johnson are able to climb to that second level. Brett Toth is able to block Dexter Lawrence here, as Toth had a really good game against the Giants. I had concerns about that going in, but give props where props are due. And then you see Fred Johnson right behind Lane Johnson with that seal block as he's able to kind of take out two guys. Now, obviously, Saquon has to make something happen here because he sees that Brett Toth is right in front of him, and Toth is blocking Dexter Lawrence. And so Saquon is going to bounce this run to his left. And the explosion on this play is incredible because in the blink of an eye, Saquon's able to take off. What I also like here is this block from Devontae Smith. He's an underrated blocker from that wide receiver spot. The other takeaway from this play, Tyler Nubin is the Giants' safety. And he's in a position to make this tackle on Saquon Barkley. And if you pause the play here, which is what we did, you're thinking, okay, Tyler Nubin, number 27, probably going to be able to tackle Saquon after a gain of about 10 yards or so. But you can count on one hand the amount of running backs who are going to be able to cut it to the boundary, take it to the sideline, and leave this safety in his rear view and dust him. And Saquon Barkley is one of those running backs. Look at Nubin. He's completely beat. Saquon able to cook him at the 50-yard line, and from there, took it to the crib. Saquon Barkley untouched on this 65-yard touchdown run. And when the Eagles were going jumbo against Minnesota, Harrison Smith, the Viking safety, would creep up. Well, the Giants, they saw that jumbo look. They kept a safety back because when the safety came up, what happened against Minnesota? Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith for 79 yards. So the Giants keep a safety back here, and Saquon Barkley says, deuces, night-night. So with the impact of Big Freddie, we'll go analytical here. The Eagles have generated more than 3 times of a better expected points added, EPA per play, with him on the field compared to him off the field. Nick Sirianni deserves credit for this in-season adjustment. So too does Kevin Patullo, who's called really good back-to-back games. Jalen Hurts has prioritized suggesting things like this. A guy in Devontae Smith said that safety keeps coming up. When they were playing the Vikings, what did they do? They took the deep shot because Smitty said it's going to be there. And so this has ended up being a steal of a pickup for the Eagles that has reaped big dividends for this ball club. And Howie Roseman pulled off another steal. He got a valuable asset for a 7th-round pick who is owed very little money. Now, the Eagles' offensive line looked really strong against the Giants. The Eagles' offense as a whole, run game, pass game, looked really strong against the Giants. If you want to be strong, I suggest you get some Bubs Naturals Collagen. This is a product that I use every single day. I sprinkle a scoop into my coffee, and I really like the protein content with this as well, as you get really good protein intake, 18 grams per serving. Now, with collagen, there are so many benefits that I want to tell you about here, and it's really changed how I feel and how I recover. Look, getting older, it can hit you harder than expected. You get stiff joints in the morning. Recovery from going to the gym might take a little bit longer. Your hair can thin out. Your nails will break. Even your skin can lose that smooth glow. With Bubs collagen, it's not going to happen. Aging sucks, but it doesn't have to. Starting in your mid-20s, your collagen production starts to naturally decline in your body. That's where Bubs Naturals collagen peptides come in. Bubs helps restore collagen levels to closer to what your body naturally had in its youth. so your joints feel stronger, your hair and nails grow healthier, and your skin looks smoother. Collagen is the most abundant protein and is often referred to as the glue that holds our bodies together. Now I have less joint pain. My hair and skin is healthier. You know by looking at my hair. Are you bouncing back faster after workouts? If you're not, you will with Bubs. No junk, zero sugar, sweeteners, or fillers. This is third-party tested, sustainably sourced from grass-fed, pasture-raised cattle. This was also voted 2024's best collagen by Health.com. Live better longer. For a limited time, our listeners, our viewers, get 20% off at Bubs Naturals by using the code CHAT at checkout. Just head to BUBSnaturals.com, use the code CHAT, and you're all set. After you make your purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that Eagles Now by Chat Sports and Chase Sr. sent you. The other steal of a move by Howie, the trade for Tank Bigsby. And we saw that this started to get in the works against Minnesota, just like Fred Johnson being incorporated. That he is now the Eagles' backup running back. He is the number 2 behind Saquon Barkley. It is not Will Shipley, and A.J. Dillon is out of the equation. And when the Eagles traded for Tank, I had said, this is a player at Auburn who ran hard. He was a bell cow type of back who will try to insert his physical dominance. He will run you over. He will step on you. He will keep running, and he'll laugh about it. This is a player in Tank Bigsby who has a nasty streak to his game. And he's still only 24 years old. He's under contract, too, going through 2026. That's something that Howie really likes. And with more carries against the Giants, we saw what this guy can be. He can be a weapon and a factor for this Eagles offense to take some weight off of Saquon Barkley's shoulders and to take some carries off of his plate. And it's not like Tank Bigsby has ever been a journeyman or a slouch. There was a reason why the Jags selected him in the 3rd round of the 2023 draft out of Auburn. And he's been an accomplished player in his NFL career. The guy had 766 carries, or yards, carries would be a lot, back in 2024 on 168 attempts. And what he did against the Giants was highly impressive. 9 carries, 104 yards, 11.6 yards per carry, and that long of 29. And what did Howie do here? Now, early on, it looked like this trade may have been a Howie Roseman whiff because the Eagles were only using him exclusively as a kick returner. Well, he was a bad kick returner, and he couldn't even field kicks. He fumbled a lot of them. And so you're thinking at the time, Howie Roseman gave up a 5th-round pick and a 6th-round pick in 2026 for Tank Bigsby. He can't return kicks, and they're not giving him carries. Well, I think the Eagles found something against the Giants in utilizing him where whether it's tough yards or explosiveness, when Saquon Barkley needs a break, the Eagles can turn to Tank Bigsby. If they want to use Saquon as a pass catcher, as a decoy in the slot, they can use him there, and they can have Tank Bigsby on the field at the same time. And again, really good value here for a player who is going to be under contract on his rookie deal through 2026 as well. And then the Eagles, of course, on Wednesday made that trade for Michael Carter, where they swap late-round picks. The Eagles send John Metchie to the New York Jets, and they bring in Carter, who is a starting, legit caliber slot nickel corner. So a couple of moves here that Howie Roseman has made where he's pulled off highway robbery, and he's gotten some absolute steals. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button here on the show. My name is Chase Sr. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. Join the movement. Let's go. All right, mailbag is coming up next. Get your questions in. Use the hashtag Eagles. Send in a super chat. We've been live for about an hour, and we have one more segment to get to. Waffle Crusher, my boy Chase. Good to see Waffle back in the building. What's up, man? Marcus even said Waffle Crusher is a great handle. Kudos. You know what it makes me want to do? Go home and eat some protein pancakes tonight. I know it's not a waffle, but you got me thinking.
God, I'm thinking. Nothing like some breakfast for dinner.
I know. I like breakfast for dinner. It's underrated.
Waffles or pancakes?
I'm more of a pancake guy.
Or a pancake guy?
Yeah.
I've always been more of a pancake guy too, but
I do like the texture of a waffle, but I don't have like a waffle maker, and it's just not the same when you like throw waffles into a toaster. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
pancakes, I know I can cook those really nicely on a cast iron skillet. I can throw some fruit in there, maybe some sea salt on there. It's fire. Javier Lopez, another $5 super chat. What's up, Javier? The Thunder Hounds. I used to love pancakes and waffles, but COVID happened. Why did COVID impact your ability to eat pancakes or waffles?
The supply
The
definitely not gone.
supply's gone down? I don't know.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah. You know what would be fire? Making pancake mix with sourdough. That would be
Ooh.
really good. All right, last call. If you want to get your questions in, hashtag Eagles, send in a super chat. A 4-segment live here today. Get your questions in. We'll chop it up.
There's that one from Javier.
Javier, $5 super chat. Out of context, but how is Goff number 7 in MVP voting, but Jalen is not? When you look at the stats, Jalen has been way better than him in almost every stat. Because Jalen Hurts always gets disrespected nationally, and it's a fatiguing conversation. I mean, Goff's been really good. There's no doubt about it, but Jalen Hurts has 20 touchdowns and 2 turnovers this year. It's incredible. He's also top 5, top 10 in like every passing category. But there's this narrative out there that he's carried, that he can't throw, yet his numbers, the film, and the eye test continues to tell a completely different story. All right, for the next 10 to 15 minutes, we'll answer your questions for a mailbag, and then we'll sign on off. So last call for any super chats. Get those in right now. And in the meantime, we'll take your questions. Here on Philadelphia Eagles Now, my name is Chase Sr. We're talking Eagles all day, every day, because that is what we do. So coming up on today's show, I'm really excited to chop it up, open up the floor, and take all of your questions from the Bird Gang as we do a mailbag here on the show. We're locked and loaded, a bunch of great questions coming in, so let's answer them all right now. Cheryl Durstein with a $2 super chat. What is your first string lineup with all of the changes? Now, Cheryl is asking this question after the Eagles traded for Michael Carter. And I think my immediate reaction to that Michael Carter trade was, wow, I talked about him on the show as a potential Eagles trade option because cornerback has been a need for the Eagles. And I mentioned his name as one where the Eagles could trade for him to be a slot corner and then move Cooper DeJean to the outside. I think that's the plan, at least as of right now, for the Eagles. And Vic Fangio has hinted at this with what he said this week, but he's also hinted at it with what he's done as far as the defensive alignment for Cooper DeJean this year, where he started to play more on the outside than he has on the inside. And he's made some good plays there. And he's capable. He did a little bit of that at Iowa. But 85% of Michael Carter's snaps in his career have come from the slot. And so this is a guy who started, I think, 25 games in his career. He's played in more than 60, and he's primarily played from the inside. I don't think you make a trade for him and you say, we're going to put you on the outside. He's also a smaller player. Runs 4.3, but he's shorter. So I think what the Eagles might do, and again, Fangio has said, we've been thinking about this, DeJean and Quignon on the outside with Michael Carter at that nickel spot. Javier Lopez, $5 super chat. Would you call back the Jets for Jermaine Johnson and give up a 3rd-round pick and a 4th-round pick for him? I think that he can add some depth to reinforce the run. I like Jermaine Johnson as a player, and I liked him at Florida State. He also has some familiarity with some of the Georgia players because he took a visit there as well. And you think about what you would have to give up for a player like that. The Eagles do have 3 third-round picks at their disposal for the 2026 draft. Their own, a pick from the Jets, which you could just send back to the Jets if you wanted to, and then a compensatory pick for Milton Williams, signing with the New England Patriots and getting that back. And you look at the Eagles' 2026 draft picks here, you've got plenty of ammo if you want to make a move here for a pass rusher. 1st-round selection, 2nd-round selection, those 3 thirds. You have 2 fourths. That's more ammunition you could give up. And then you have a 5th-round pick from the Niners, which can become a 4th if Bryce Huff continues to play well, a 5th-round pick, and a 6th-round pick. Jermaine Johnson's a really solid player. Now, last year he tore his Achilles. He is back from that injury, and this season He has 14 pressures, 11 hurries, 1 sack. He's starting to find his form again. It's taken him a little while, but he's also a young player, 26 years old, 6'5", 262, with a lot of size, a lot of physicality, who's good against the run, who I would certainly be intrigued by. Peter Reamer, $5 super chat. I've read and I've seen videos of people saying that the refs are on the bird side this year. What's your thought on that? My thought on that is that officiating always goes both ways. And a team rarely, if ever, wins a game solely because of officiating. Now, of course, the tush-push, it's been talked about a lot. It's a hard play to defend. But if we slowed every play down to a fraction of a second across the entire NFL, you know what you would see? A lot of false starts. Because getting off the line with timing is what offensive linemen do. It's what defensive linemen perfect. It's what wide receivers do so that they can beat their man. Like, if we slowed all these plays down, Zapruder film style, and we watch these plays frame by frame, you would see early movement all the time. And if we called penalties on all of them, football would be an unwatchable product. So the tush-push might be hard to defend, but when that ball is getting snapped in real time, it's pretty hard for all of us to see early movement there. Now, against the Giants, that game was poorly officiated. There was no doubt about it. And I thought the Giants got hosed on a couple of officiating calls, right? But Giants fans have also said, Zach Bond, that was a hip drop tackle. One, it wasn't a tackle. He broke up a pass. With a better pass from Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo might not get injured. And tell me how it's a hip drop tackle when Zach Bond wrapped up Cam Scatterbo at the shoulder and chest. You want to talk about bad calls? Jackson Dart, that play was called a fumble on the field. It got reversed. On the Cam Scatterbo touchdown, Nakobe Dean pretty much got tackled and blocked in the back. So there were bad calls that impacted both teams in that game. And have the Eagles had a favorable whistle? I don't think so. Watch Kansas City Chiefs games. That's been pretty evident over the years, and there have been studies that have proven that. Gene Holcomb, Chase, do you think the Eagles should have kept John Metchie since Dotson might want a bigger contract in the offseason? It's a fair point. Do you keep Metchie? Do you trade Dotson? Because Dotson's going to be a free agent and Metchie a restricted free agent, you can bring him back. I'm sure the Eagles thought about that, but I also think they also said this, right? Jahan Dotson's a much better player. And let's give a shout out to Jahan Dotson, right? Former first-round pick by Washington, did some nice things there, was traded away. He's never complained about his role. He's never complained about targets. If he could go somewhere else, I think that he'd be able to make some big plays. When his number has been called for the most part, he's been able to make marquee plays for this Eagles team, and it's not easy to do that as a wide receiver. First off, it's always wide receivers who cause drama when they don't get targets. You think back to OBJ, at times A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf. They are difficult personalities to deal with because they're running a lot of routes and they want to feel as though they're making an impact on the game. But Jahan Dotson knows he's behind A.J. Brown. He's behind Devontae Smith. Those are two number one wideouts. So he's not going to get a lot of targets. You have Saquon Barkley. He's going to get a lot of carries. Dallas Goedert is having a fantastic year, and he's long been one of the top overall all-around tight ends in football, right? But in the Super Bowl, Jahan Dotson came through with some big plays, especially early, to help set the tone for that football game. First playoff game against Green Bay, he caught the first touchdown from Jalen Hurts. Against the Cowboys, he caught the 50-plus yarder bomb from Jalen Hurts downfield. Huge play in that game. Against the Giants, he mossed that DB. So I think the Eagles just look at it for right now. They know that Jahan Dotson is the much better player. And if Smitty or AJ were to get hurt, they need Dotson. They can't really count on Metchie, I think, in their eyes. Earth, will we get a pass rusher? Obviously, that's the big question. Recording this show on Wednesday, October 29th, as we're live here on Eagles Now after that Michael Carter trade. The Birds have traded for Michael Carter. Will they trade for a pass rusher? We will see. Wouldn't surprise me if they do. I kind of think they need to, but from the Eagles standpoint, they might say, we're getting Brandon Graham and Nolan Smith back after the bye week. Those are our acquisitions while being able to preserve draft capital. More of your questions coming up just around the corner, but today's Philadelphia Eagles now brought to you by PrizePicks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with PrizePicks, the #1 fantasy sports app in North America. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right, come on now, it never gets old. So keep the season rolling on PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Eagles fans are the smartest fan base in football. I know you know ball. Show me. Turn your takes into cash with PrizePicks. Pick, predict, play. Get your picks in less than 60 seconds. And PrizePicks has a couple of new features. It's the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Jalen Hurts' pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. You can also follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app, copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. 3-pick power play for Thursday Night Football. This is how PrizePicks works. Derrick Henry, more than 88.5 rushing yards and a half rushing touchdown. Jalen Waddle, more than 62.5 receiving yards. See how easy it is to play PrizePicks? There you go. Sign up today. Join the millions of users. Download the PrizePicks app. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Let's get to this one from Iron Pen LLC. Disrupting DeJean as the slot corner is not wise. My opinion, they're still hoping that Jacorian Bennett works out. I agree with you, and I've long said this. Cooper DeJean is elite in the slot, and when you use him there, it allows him to be versatile and put his impact on the game in a variety of ways. He can cover tight ends. He can cover slot wideouts. If he needs to go out wide, he can do that. He can play big nickel. He can play hybrid linebacker. You can use him as a blitzer from that corner spot. From slot, he's able to make plays against the run easier. He's also able to make plays in the flat easier, and he's one of the best formed tacklers in the National Football League. But if the Eagles do have a question mark about outside corner, this at least gives them optionality and versatility and depth by making this trade for Michael Carter. Andrew Nathan, there's a report that the Patriots are in on a running back option. Does Howie Roseman trade A.J. Dillon or cut him since Tank Bigsby looked great on Sunday? Andrew, you're always on it, man, and I got to give you credit. You're one of the smarter people who watches this show. That's a good point. I mean, A.J. Dillon has been a healthy scratch for this Eagles team the last 2 games because Tank Bigsby has gotten more carries. And I like Will Shipley as a player. He's your RB3, and he's better than A.J. Dillon. So the Patriots are looking for a back. It's kind of crazy what's happened with Travion Henderson. They just don't like him at all, even though I think he has a lot of talent and he played well in the preseason. Maybe it's just a trust issue right now. Well, if it is a trust issue, A.J. Dillon is a player who is a veteran, who's a great member in the locker room, good for the culture. Patriots have a young team. If they're looking for a physical back to play in Foxborough, they loved LeGarrette Blount. So did we as Eagles fans. They could love A.J. Dillon too. Cool Rains, Aussie, oi, oi, oi. Cool Rains, by the way, was at the Eagles-Giants game. Traveled all the way from Australia to Philadelphia for his first Eagles game. How about that? That's awesome. Mock trade idea. Eagles get Kayvon Thibodeau. Giants get a 3rd-round pick and A.J. Dillon. Your thoughts? Obviously, the Giants, too, need a running back after that brutal, unfortunate injury to Cam Scadaboo. I like Kayvon Thibodeau as a player. He's good against the run. He is really tough. He can get after the quarterback. He's had a really good production. 1st-round draft pedigree. Here's the thing, Cool Rains. After seeing what Saquon's done with the Eagles, the Giants are not doing business with Philadelphia. So I don't think they would trade the Eagles' Kayvon Thibodeau, unfortunately. Turquoise Hawk, your thoughts on the Bears signing C.J. Gardner-Johnson? I was waiting for this to happen. Well, obviously, if you follow me on social media, if you've watched this show, I'm heartbroken. No, not really. I wanted the Eagles to sign him, and clearly the Eagles thought, hey, we have a secondary need. They traded for Michael Carter. They elected to not bring back C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Obviously, he damaged some relationships inside that locker room, and so the third time wasn't going to be a charm, and the Eagles didn't want to have to deal with some of that noise that CJ brings. Now, I deal with that for special players, and CD Deuce, 12 interceptions in 28 games for the Eagles. He brought fire, physicality, leadership, and a swagger to this Eagles defense. There's a reason why they brought him back in 2024. They knew in 2023 they missed all of that, and they were soft. With him going to the Bears, I think he's going to have a better opportunity to play more with Chicago. They had a massive need in the secondary. He also gets to reunite with Dennis Allen, who he played under when he was with the Saints. Dennis Allen knows how to use him in the slot and at safety. And that Bears defense, they needed to be nastier. With CD, they're going to be nastier. And we'll see. C.J. Gardner-Johnson return to Philadelphia Black Friday when the Eagles host the Bears. Who do you want the Eagles to trade for? Do you still have an option who you want the Eagles to go after? Let me know down in the comment section. Drop me a name. All right, an awesome live show here today. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. We had a lot of people who watched it. We also put out the Michael Carter video up on the channel, which we recorded live. So if you're just joining the show and you want my reaction to the Michael Carter trade, that full video is up on Eagles Now. So myself and Chip, we're going to sign off. Thanks to everybody who hung out. Thanks to everybody who watched, who liked the video, who sent in comments, mailbag questions, who sent in super chats. Everybody who was here, you're all real ones. EAGLES Eagles. For Chip, I'm Chase. We're out. See ya.